Hey everybody, this is Brittany. I told y'all that I would give you a tutorial of what I wanted y'all to do for homework over the weekend. This is my first time using this Camtasia software so that I can video what's on screen, so just bear with me. Okay, so we are revisiting our creature cartoon to turn it into a GIF is the goal. I've still got more learning to do over the weekend to figure out how to make this happen in a smooth way because, as usual in life, things that you think will be simple turn out to be a lot more complicated. So as I'm learning this, I am working on an old student file from the idiom project that Anna Zollicoffer turned in. This was her really cute rendition of Flipping the Bird. And so this is her original AI file right here. So you can see over here in her layers that she has a ton of layers for almost every element of how she built it. But she did a really good job on keeping everything organized so that you can see what is what. Now, what we need to do is, number one, make edits to your creature that we talked about in critique on Flickr and or in person, whether that is changing the creature's positioning or color or facial expression. You have all those notes online. So do that first. Then second, and do this all in a copied file so that you don't mess up your original just in case. We need to condense these layers so that we get down to having a really organized way of where instead of hers she has, for instance, knees and sock lines and socks and shoelaces and shoes all separate for her leg. Instead, we want everything that is involved together to be in a layer together. So everything that is stationary needs to be in a layer together, and everything that can be a possible action of your GIF needs to be in a separate layer to itself. So we would need, for instance, the knees, the sock lines, the socks, the shoelaces, the shoes, and down here at the bottom, the legs to be all one piece. Okay? So I started working on that in this copy of the layer here. You can see I have way less layers than what she did to begin with, where I have all the ponytails together, and I'll get to this in a second, why I've got the eyes separated. I've got like her skirt is separate, got her left leg, her right leg, the body, and the field. Okay, something else whenever I was pouring over her files to see how this was put together. Since this was a beginner project, there were just some things that Anna missed in understanding the pen tool, such as if we hide her skirt layer right here. Alright, see how the legs, instead of just letting the legs fill in completely like a normal shape of a leg would behind the skirt, because the skirt would overlay on top of it and cover up anything that didn't need to be seen, she worked really hard to make that piece of the leg go into the piece of the skirt like a puzzle piece. Okay, where this is a problem in working on the GIF is if we move this leg around underneath the skirt. Let's see if I can do this just for demonstration's sake. See, if I Command T, whoops, this is Illustrator, not Photoshop. So if I rotate this, see how the leg isn't full as it moves around under the skirt. Okay, we need that to be one full piece. Okay, so that's one thing that I did over here in this new file, is if I hide her skirt here and I have it all condensed where the lines and the fullness of the skirt is together. So if I hide this, if you look now, I have extended this leg to be solid pieces so that in the GIF, whenever I select the leg and move it around, it makes sense that it's still in the shape of a leg. Excuse me. Okay, So how to condense that into particular layers as a reminder. So let's say I want to put all of the leg pieces together. Let's say I want to put it all in the leg layer right here. I need to make sure the layers I want to combine are unlocked. Okay. I can click these portholes here and hold Shift and click all the ones corresponding to what you want to bring together, and then click the layer you want it to move to, whether it's a layer that's already been made or one that you want to make fresh, just doing this button right here. So I'm going to click legs here. You see my portholes are still selected here, and I've got this layer selected here. So then I do Object, Arrange, Send to Current Layer. Okay, well then all of these are now empty. I can select Shift and click all those, and then I can hit the trash can and those are gone. I turned the leg on and off, and you see now that is all one layer. So then the next thing that I did on my new file was go in and hide the skirt, and I brought the leg out. Okay. Alright, another thing, if you notice, when I was turning the legs on and off, is she didn't complete the numbers behind it. Again, this will be another problem whenever you're working with a GIF and having the leg, if I wanted the legs to be in motion, that we will see that gap of the 3 and 0. So that is something. I'm going to click over to my new file here. Going to the legs, if I hide these, see now I have completed the numbers of the field. Okay. What else? Okay. Also think about parts, even like the legs, I separated because I may want, you know, each leg to do something a little bit different. So I made the left leg in one layer and the right leg in another. I did the same thing with her wings and pom-poms. So if I want them to kind of move around in a cheerleader kind of motion, I have each of these in a separate layer. Okay. Alright, so for example, how I did that, just a refresher, if I wanted to separate her ponytails to do something different. Right now, they're together. So when I make this GIF, if I selected this layer, whatever I did would be the same thing. Okay? So I need to separate those just in case if I decided to make those do a different kind of motion. So what I'm going to do is make a new layer, and I'm going to call it Ponytail Left. Rename the one that I'm going to be pulling from Ponytail Right. Okay. And then I'm just going to select the one that I want to move to the left one. So I'm going to select here, I'm going to hold Shift and grab these shapes. Okay, I think that's all. Then I'm going to select Ponytail Left, Object, Arrange, Send to Current Layer. Okay, so now if I hide that, see, now these are separate. Okay, another thing I had to work on looking at the original was her body. So as her pom-poms moved around, I can hide these, the pom-poms and the wings. You see that there's gaps on her belly. So I went back to my new file and I took a look at that, where if I hide her pom-pom and wing layers, now her body is complete. Okay, and now I'm going to give you a quick preview on why this is important, and this is still something I'm trying to figure out. We may end up only using Illustrator and Photoshop for this GIF, or I may end up bringing in a new software that's brand new to me too, like Flash, or I forgot the other one that they said is an Adobe program that we can look into. So if I open Photoshop right here, here's a similar file, okay? So you can actually save out PSD Photoshop files out of Illustrator so that all the layers are still intact. Since this is Photoshop, it's not going to be the same way as Illustrator, where I can click on this layer and click on the individual pieces making up each layer. You know, we've just been through Photoshop so whatever is in that layer, whenever it's selected, whenever I move it, the entire piece moves, okay? But you can see that each layer is separated out, and we will use most likely this timeline tool here where it separates each of these layers apart. So that's why trying to edit, kind of simplifying everything down where everything that belongs together is together, so that whenever you select that layer, like what's a good one here? Like if I wanted to move her eyes a little bit as part of the GIF, that's going to happen together. But if I wanted each eye to do something separate, again, I would be back in Illustrator and make sure that each eye is in a separate layer so that I can click that in Photoshop and move it separately. Okay? Also keep in mind for this GIF that it's not going to be a super complicated GIF for the amount of time we're going to spend on this. We're just really going to skim the surface on how to make a GIF, because this is my first time too, and it's a lot more complicated than what I thought it was going to be. Like, I found a tutorial that made it look super easy, and then whenever I started making this of Flip the Bird, I realized that that tutorial didn't cover everything that's needed, and I need to use probably a different approach or go to a different software. I will have this figured out next week, but in the meantime, clean up your files, simplify them down, and again, make sure that you are editing a copy of your original file just in case. You don't want to mess up your original that you turned in for class. You may have your original at the start of the year, your edited version of making your changes just with the physical characteristics, and then have a separate file where you're reorganizing your layers so that you simplify everything that belongs together and separate anything out that may be, you know, stationary. Like this field, I would not plan on editing this field to change, so all of that field needs to be together. But I may make one eye operate separate from another eye, this wing and pom-pom separate from this wing and pom-pom, this leg separate from that leg, and so forth. Okay, so be sure that you cover all those gaps and any shapes that you need to work on to fulfill it as where pieces are moving, that they pass through one another and feel natural. Just be sure you click on and off all those layers and see how they feel. Do that for homework over the weekend until class, and I will have the rest of the GIF stuff figured out, so hopefully this will not be too heavy of an assignment for y'all to work on while you are still working on, for graphic design portfolio people, trying to get your stuff ready for that deadline on Tuesday. Okay, so I hope this video is working and explains everything that I want from you. So I just want to see in class your edited, simplified Illustrator file. Okay, you're not even going to have to touch Photoshop yet. I will get into that next week. Okay, y'all have a great weekend, and if you have any questions, let me know.